Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn the Rashis and Masechta Shabbos on the Beis Amud Aleph and the Beis Amud Beis. Let's begin. In this piece of Gemara, we presented the Mishnah from Shavuos that said, Shavuos Shtayim Shein Arba, Yediyas Atuma Shtayim Shein Arba, Maris Negoyim Shtayim Shein Arba, and Yitzias Shabbos Shtayim Shein Arba. And on there we asked that how come our Mishnah says that there are a total of Shtayim Shein Arba B'fnim and Shtayim Shein Arba B'chutz. In the Mishnah, in Masechta Shavuos says that there's only a total of Shtayim Shein Arba. So our Gemara began with the words Tanan Hossam. We learned over there. It says Rashi, B'Masechta Shavuos and Masechta Shavuos. We said Shavuos are Shtayim Shein Arba. So Rashi is going to explain what does it mean Shavuos Shtayim. Says Rashi, Shavuos Shel Bitoy. This refers to the Shavuos that a person expresses himself. He says Lohara, to do something negative, or Lehetiv, to do something positive. So Shtayim Hein, there are two such cases where a person said he will do something or he won't do something and he doesn't keep his word. There's Chayav on land that he's Chayav for not fulfilling his word, a carbon oil to bring a carbon oil the Amar Parsha, which is spoken about in the Parsha. The Nafki, because we learn out from the words in the Pasuk, the Nefesh Kisi Shava, if a person takes an oath, and it says later in the Pasuk, Lahara Oilehit, so we learn, the Nafki, we learn Melahara Oilehit from the words Lahara Oilehit, the Mashma, this indicates that it's referring to Lahaba, to the future, Lahara and Lehetiv. So what would be an example of Lahara Oilehit? A positive will be I will eat. If the person says I won't eat and he doesn't keep his word, Shtaim, there are two cases that he's chayiv for them, a carbon eilev v'yerid. The Mishnah continued and said, it's Shtaim shehin arba, that are four. What are the four and where do we know it from? So says Rashi, Yesh l'chol rabbis oich Shtaim. You should add another two cases, meribay akasa, from the ribay that's in the pasuk. The pasuk indicates that we should add additional cases to what's written explicitly, as it says, L'chol asher yevate adam, to anything that the person expresses. The pasuk says if a person takes an oath l'hara oilehetiv, and then it concludes to anything that the person says. When it says to anything, it's referring to additional things, which are l'ravis. It's including l'sha'avar for the past. For example, achalti, if a person says I did eat, v'lo and he did not eat, so then he needs to bring a carbon v'yerid. Or lo yachalti, the person says I did not eat, v'achal, and he did eat. So we have another two cases, lohara or lehetiv, but in the past, lohara, the person says I did not eat, that's a negative, lohara. Or the person says achalti, I did eat, which is a positive lehetiv. So in those two cases as well, if the person lied, he needs to bring a carbon v'yerid. The Mishnah continued and said, Yediyas atuma are also Shtayim Shein Arba. So Rashi is going to explain what are Yediyas atuma and where do we know it from. It says Rashi, Amoris b'karban oil v'yerid. We're referring to the Yediyas atuma that are said regarding the person's chiyuv to bring a carbon oil v'yerid. Like it says, a nefesh kisigai v'gamer. It says in the pasuk, if a person touches something that's tamei and he does something which is asr, like we'll see, it refers to either eating kachim or entering the makam hamikdash. He's chayiv to bring a carbon oil v'yerid. V'amrinim b'Masechta Shavuos, we say in Masechta Shavuos, she'eina kasav medaber, that the pasuk is only talking about ela b'tumas mikdash v'kadashav. It's referring to the person being tamei in regards to the makam and mikdash or eating kachim. Shala'achar shenitman, which this would be a case that after a person became tamei, achal kodesh, he ate something which is kodesh, he ate kachim. He entered the Makam HaMikdash. Ve'alfinan Hasam, and we learn over there, she'enim is chayev, that he's not chayev ella unless, so he's only chayev b'yadiyah tchila, if first there's an awareness, v'yadiyah b'seif, and there's an awareness at the end, ve'helam b'yintayim, and there is ignorance in the middle. In other words, Kigayin says Rashi, she'yada shenitma. First he knew, there's an awareness at the beginning, the person knows that he's tamei. V'ne'elam imenu tuma, and then he forgot that he was tamei. Va'achal kodesh, and at that time he ate kachim, or like we'll say, he entered the Makam HaMikdash. Umisha'achal, and from after eating yada, that means afterwards he became aware again, sha'achal betuma, that he ate it while he was tummy. So first he was aware he was tummy, then he forgot, and then he became aware again. So shtayim hein, there are two such cases where a person could be aware he's tummy, forget that he's tummy, and become aware again, and because of something that he did when he wasn't aware, he's chayiv to bring a carbon oil v'yerid. Mimashmas akasaf, from the meaning of the pasuk. The pasuk indicates that there are two cases. It was forgotten for him that he's tummy, and he's tummy. Mashma, so this means to say, this indicates that it was forgotten from him that he was tummy. But he was aware that he's eating kodesh, and that this is the place of the mikdash. That means the person was conscious. He was aware. He knew, I'm eating kachim, I'm entering the makam mikdash, but he forgot that he was tummy. So we have two cases: either helim tuma lagabi kodesh, either he was unaware that he was tamei while eating kachim, ve'elam tuma, or he was unaware that he was tamei lagabi mikdash regarding the makam mikdash, and he entered the makam mikdash. So we have two cases, and we brought down the pasuk and the description of the case. What's Shehin Arba? The Mishnah said it's Shtayim Shehin Arba. What's the additional two cases? So says Rashi, Yesh l'chol rabbis oich Shtayim. You should add another two cases. Me ribui, from the ribui in the pasuk, v'nelam beis pamim. The pasuk uses the word v'nelam an extra time. From there we learn that it's alluding to, or it's telling us to add additional cases where the person's chayav to bring a carbon. L'rabes, what it's coming to add is, l'rabes to add is a zocher l'tumah, when the person's aware that he's tamei, of al nela mimenu kedesh, but he forgot that it's kachim. Kasaver shechulin, and he thought that it was chulin. So in other words, one of the cases we're adding is that there was an awareness at the beginning, an awareness at the end, and he forgot in the middle, but not that he forgot he was tummy. Rather, that tumah was an awareness the whole time. What was forgotten in the middle was that this item is kachim. He knew that he was tummy, but he forgot it's kachim, and he ate it. Or nela mimenu mikdash. He didn't realize that he's entering the makam mikdash. He forgot that this area is considered kodesh, and he entered it. So those are an additional two cases. So we have a total of shtayim shein arba, two cases that are four. Two cases are that while Tameh he ate kachim, or while Tameh he entered the Makam HaMikdash, and in that period of time he forgot that he was Tameh. And the other two that are four, is referring to that while Tameh he either ate kachim or entered the Makam HaMikdash, but what he wasn't aware of at the time was that it's kachim or that it's the Makam HaMikdash. The Mishnah continued over there and said, Maris Negoyim. What are Maris Negoyim? Says Rashi, Li Tameh Behen, that make a person Tameh. Shnayim him, they are two. So here Rashi tells us that it's referring to a Maris Nagayim, they make a person Tameh. He also tells us what the two are. Se'es uvaheres, because it says it openly in the pasuk that there's a Mara of Tsaras, there's an appearance of Tsaras, that's Se'es, and there's one that's Baheres. So we have two. Shehin Arba, the Mishnah says it's two that are four. What are the extra two? What does it mean when it says that are four? It says Rashi, Me Ribui Sapachas. From the ribui that the pasuk uses the word sapachas, shehu mashmat tefela, which indicates that there's a secondary one, that each one of these, the se'es and the beheres, each has a secondary tsaras that also creates tumah. Kumoy, like we see, safcheni no al achas v'gemer. We see the word safcheni used elsewhere, and over there it means something that's secondary, like attached to the primary one. Marbet tefela lazu lazu. So the pasuk is adding a secondary level to this one, the se'es, and a secondary level to this one, the baheres. Tulda l'se'es, there's a tulda for the se'es, but tulda l'baheres, and there's a tulda to the baheres. A tulda means like a secondary level. V'shanu chachamim, and the chachamim taught, baheres azaka sheleg. The baheres tsaras is stark, is sharp, like snow. Shniela, its secondary one, its tulda, its sapachas, is kesida hechel, is white like the cement of the hechel, which is referring to the hechel in the Beis Hamikdash. Se'es, the se'es tsaras, is katsemer love, and is like white wool. Shniela, its secondary one, is kekrum beitz, is like the membrane of the egg. Under the white shell, there's a membrane. It's white like that color of the egg membrane. Mara Narashi answers a question. Why does it say Maris Negoyim Shnayim? Maris seems to be Lashon Nekeva. Shnayim is Lashon Zachar. It should have said Shtayim, which is Lashon Nekeva. It says Rashi, Mara is Lashon Zacharu. The word Mara is not Nekeva, it's rather Lashon Zachar. And the plural of Mara is Maris. So Maris is not a Lashon Nekeva, it's Lashon Zachar. Because of this, Tani Shnayim Shein Dalad. That's why he says Shnayim, which is Lashon Zachar. Shnayim Shein Dalad. So the Gemara over there, we presented, in this point in Rashi, we described the Mishnah. And the Gemara now continued on and asked, so why over there does it say there's a total of 4 cases, and our Mishnah says there's a total of 8? So in the Gemara's first answer, we said that since Masechta Shabbos is the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, so Tani Avis told us, it taught the Avis and the Toldos of the Malacha, whereas over there in Masechta Shavuos, it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, it only taught the Avis. Says Rashi, what are the Avis and the Toldos? Yitzias v'achnasas. It means Yitzias and achnasas, carrying out from the Rosh Hashanah to the Rosh Hashanah are the Avis, and when the cases of carrying in are the v'achnasa, those are the Toldos. Shayitzias Avisin, because the Yitzias are the Avis. Dimevayaviru kol b'machane, because on the pasuk that says that they spread the word throughout the camp, that the Yidden should stop doing malacha, they should stop bringing things to the Beis Hamikdash, it only indicates Eitzas, because it was telling the Yidden, don't do the malacha of bringing things from your personal tent to the area of the public. That's the malacha of Eitzah. So only Eitzah is the Av, that's written in the pasuk. So then how do we know that Achnasa is also Chayiv, that it's a Tolda? Says Rashi, it's just from a Svara that we say, Michti, let us see. Let's look at this. What the pasuk cared about, what concerned the pasuk, is that the person transfers an item from one rishus to another, from the rishus hayachid to the rishus harabim. So mali afuke, what's it to me if he transfers it in a way that is taking it out of the rishus hayachid? Mali ayule, what's it to me if he's transferring it by bringing into the Rishus HaYachid. Either way, there's a transferring of the item from one Rishus to the other, so just like it says, Chayiv, Hachnasa should also be Chayiv. The Gemara, however, said that this is not a good answer, because then the Mishnah, Masechta Shavuos, would not say there are 4 cases, because how many Ovis are there by Shabbos? Of Vaitzah, there's only 2. Tarti Havin, there's only 2, and the Mishnah in Shavuos said 4. What are the 2 cases? The Ani, either the Ani does the act of Hitzah, he carries the item out to himself in the Rishus Harabim, with the Balabayas, or the Balabayas carries it out to the Ani. Umay Shehin Arba, the Ktani Hasm. So what does it mean when it says 2 that are 4? If it was only counting the Av Malachas, it would have a total of 2 cases, not 4. And the Gemara continued and said, and if you're going to answer me that the reason there are 4 cases is because it's counting the Chayiv cases and the Pater cases, the Chayiv cases of Eitzah and the Pater cases of Eitzah, so it's including all the Avis, both the Chayiv and the Pater, so we do have a total of 4. So Rashi is going to explain what the Gemara meant with this, Mehen L'Chiv and Mehen L'Ptor, of them that are Chayiv, and of them it's counting that are Pater. So Rashi explains these cases, Yitzias the Ani v'the Balabayis L'Chiv. First we have the Yitzias of the Ani, and the Balabayis that are Chayiv, where they each did the complete Malacha. The Yitzias Shtayim Shel Ptor, and then we have another 2 Yitzias that are Pater but Asr, Shtei Akiris Shel Eitzah. Like we explained previously, that according to Rashi, the Mishnah is focusing, although when they each participated in the Malacha, both of them did it Isser, but the Mishnah is focusing on the one that did the Akira, since the Akira could lead to the completing of the Malacha, like Rashi will mention again. So it says Rashi, V'yitzias Shtayim Shel Ptor, there's another, the Yitzias, there's 2 of them that are Pater, Shtei Akiris Shel Eitzah, the 2 Akiris that are related to Hitzah. Kigain, for example, Pashat Balabayis Yodem Malei Alachutz, the Balabais extended his hand, which was full outwards. The Ani took out of it. So here we have a case that the Balabais did something which is Asr in the Hitzah. He did Akira and he extended his hand outwards with an item. Hare Ptur Shel Balabais. There's here a Pater case that's Asr for the Balabais. The Chachashiv Leitana de Masnissen, that the Tana of our Mishnah counted. Also the Tana in Shavuos was referring to that case. Uchegain, and the second case will be Pashat Ani Yadei Reikanis Lufnim. The Ani extended his empty hand inwards. V'nasan Balabais L'Seichan. The Balabais placed something into it. Hare Ptur Sheni Shel Hitzah. And we're not going to read Shel Ani, because that doesn't fit with Rashi's opinion. According to Rashi, this is also the Balabais, since the Balabais did the Akira. So we have the second Ptur, a case that's Pater but Asr, of Eitzah. So 2 for the Balabais. Either Balabais lifted it up and extended his hand outwards, but didn't complete the Malacha, or he just lifted it up and placed it into the extended hand of the Ani. Shehu Asr L'Chatchila, these cases are Asr L'Chatchila for a person to do. The Gazrinan, because we make a decree, Shema Yasa Hanacha Al Akirase. Maybe he'll do an Hanacha on his Akira. He could come to complete the Malacha by lifting it up, although he didn't complete it, if he lifted it up, or even if he extended his hand outwards, but he could come to completing it. And therefore, the Tana focuses on that case, on that person, and says, that's the Asr that we're saying is Asr, although the other one's Asr as well. V'hainu shein dalid diktani hasam. So that will explain to us what it means when it says Shtayim shein dalid. We have another 2. Because we were asking, there's only 2 cases. So the Gemara says, and if you'll tell me that it's recounting the Chayiv and the Pater, and now that's why we have 4. The Gemara said we cannot say that. And the reason is, so we move on to that part of the Gemara, Hadumyu the Maris Nagayim Katani. But he taught cases that are similar to Maris Nagayim. Mahasam Kulu L'Chayuva. Just like over there, they're all Chayiv. Says Rashi, that with whichever one of them he became Tameh, whether it's Se'es, or Itzapachas, or Baheres and Itzapachas, v'nichnas l'mikdash, and he entered the base of Mikdash while Tameh, Chayiv, he's Chayiv. It's not Pater, it's not just Asr, rather it's Chayiv, he did an Isser Menatero. U'lahachi parach mi'maris Nagayim. Rashi here is going to answer a question. Why did we say, just like Maris Nagayim, they're all Chayiv, so too by Yitzias Shabbos, they all need to be Chayiv, so we can't be referring to the Pater cases as well. Why didn't we say, just like Shavuos, they're all Chayiv, just like Yedias Tumah, they're all Chayiv? How can we use Maris Nagayim as the source? And the question is not just Maris Nagayim as opposed to the other ones. In the Mishnah, it starts off by saying Shavuos Shtayim Shin Arba, then Yedias Tumah Shtayim Shin Arba, then Maris Nagayim Shtayim Shin Arba. It could have used one of the first ones. It says Rashi, Ulahachi Parach Maris Nagayim. This is the reason why he asks for Maris Nagayim. The Ilu Shavuos v'Yedias Pluktehi. Because by Shavuos and Yedias Tumah, there's actually an argument whether they're all Chayiv. There's opinions that hold that they're not all Chayiv. Rashi will explain. The Ikamanda Omer b'Shavuos. There is an opinion in Shavuos that Eine Chayiv Ella Ala Asad Lavi. That a person is only Chayiv for vows that he takes regarding the future. I will eat, and he doesn't keep his word. I won't eat, and he doesn't keep his word. However, for the past, he's not Chayiv. Uvi Yedias Nami Ika Lamanda Omer. And also by Yedias Tumah, there's also Ika, there is Lamanda Omer. That means there's an opinion that holds that Eine Chayiv Ella Al Helam Tumah. That a person is not Chayiv unless it's the Helam of Tumah that's there. He's only Chayiv for Helam Tumah. That means there's 2 cases. If the person forgot he was Tameh and ate Kachim or entered the Mikdash, only there is he Chayiv. But if he was aware that he's Tomei, but he forgot that it was Kachim, or forgot that it was Mokum Mikdash, and he ate the Kachim, or entered the Mokum Mikdash, there's no Chiyuv, there's no Carbon Eilo V'Yerid. So therefore we go to Maris Nagayim, because the only way we even know that by Shavuos they're all Chayiv, and by Idiyas Tumah they're all Chayiv, according to the Tana of that Mishnah, there's arguing opinions. But how do we know the Tana of that Mishnah is referring to cases that are all Chayiv? We learn it out from Maris Nagayim. The Gemara in Shavuos says that just like Maris Nagayim are all Chayiv, it must be that the Tana of this Mishnah holds of the opinion that says Yediyas Tumah, they're all Chayiv. Shavuos are all Chayiv. So since the only case that the only way to learn it is that they're all Chayiv is Maris Nagayim, so therefore from there we also learn that by Yetzias Shabbos they're all Chayiv. The Gemara then presented a second answer, and that is that since here is the main discussion of Shabbos, we count the Chiyuv cases and the Pater cases. However, in Masechta Shavuos, since it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, it only counts the Chayiv cases. Says Rashi, so what are the 4 Chayiv cases? Like we're going to explain nearby. Beis Haitzahis and Beis Achnasis. The Chiyuvim are, if a person did Haitzah, so we have Haitzah of the Ani and Haitzah of the Balabayis, that's 2 cases. And then we have Achnasa of the Ani and Achnasa of the Balabayis, another 2 cases. That's how we have 4. V'chulin l'chiyuv, and they're all going to be Chayiv. There's no Pater over here, because we said we're only counting Chayiv. B'yachid Shasam, if one person did it himself, Ani Levade, either the Ani alone did the whole Malacha of Haitzah or Achnasa, or Balabayis Levade, the Balabayis alone did the whole Malacha of Haitzah or Achnasa. So the Gemara then asked on this, Chiyuvim mai ninu, Yitzias. If we look at the Chiyuvim, we only have Yitzias. So Rashi is going to explain what's the question here. Achnasa is also chayiv. So Rashi explains, Kalemer Yitzias Katani. The Mishnah says Yitzias Shabbos Shtayim Shein Arba. It uses the word Yitzias, the mashma, which indicates Haitzah, carrying out. So if we're talking about carrying out, that's chayiv. There's only 2. Because in order to have 4, we also need Hachnasa. So we're not asking that there's only 2 that are chayiv. What we're asking is that if you're limited to Yitzias, then there are only 2. Because in order to have 4, you also need Achnasa. That's why he asks, which Chiyuvim is he counting? It must be he's only counting Yitzias alone. There are only 2. The Gemara answers, he answers, Achnasas Nami, also Achnasas Katani, he teaches Bahadayu together with them. And the Gemara then continues and brings a proof that when it says Yitzias, it also includes Hachnasa. Meditanan, from this that it says in the Mishnah, Hamaitzim Rishus Lurshus. It says later on, Rashi is going to say where this is, Kachashav Minyan Avos Malachis Be'Peraklal Gadol. In Peraklal Gadol, the Mishnah says there are 39 Avos Malachis. It counts all the Avos Malachis, and then it says that the last Malacha is Hamaitzim Rishus Lurshus, one who carries out from one Rishus into another Rishus. And the Gemara says, are we not referring to not only Haitzah, but also Achnasa? So we see that he uses the word Hamaitzi, Mershus Lushus, he uses the word Hamaitzi, and he's not only referring to Haitzah, but also Achnasa. So we see that the word Yitziyah could also include in it Achnasa. Says Rashi, it must be that he's also Chayiv for Achnasa. Like our Mishnah says, that the Ani is also chayiv when he does the act of carrying from his rishus to the other rishus, which is achanasa. V'katani amaitzi, and it says amaitzi. And Taisus elaborates on this a little more. But what Rashi is saying here is, it says amaitzi rishus l'rishus, and it's also including the act of achanasa. Taisus brings down the proof that's brought down, the proof that it's also referring to achanasa. Rashi says simply, because it says Meitzim Rishus L'Shus is Chayiv, and Achnasa is also Chayiv, so it must be including Achnasa as well. And then the Gemara continued and said, Masnisin, our Mishnah, brings a proof, also brings out this point, that when you say Yitziyah, it also includes Achnasa. The Hacha, our Mishnah over here, Nami Deka, is also indicative, is also precise in bringing out this point. The Achnasa Nami Kari Hitzah, that Achnasa he also calls with the name Hitzah. How do we see it in our Mishnah? The Ktani Yitzias, because our Mishnah says the word Yitzias. It's certain, it's for sure that we cannot explain that it's only counting Yitzias. And what's going to be the explanation? How do you have Yitzias? You're going to count the Chayiv cases and the Pater cases, so you'll have a total of 4. We can't say that when it says Yitzias, it's only referring to Haitzah. Why not? The Hamefarish Achnasa Bereisha, because he explains Achnasa first. So Rashi says we cannot say that Yetzias Hashabbos Shtayim Shin Arba B'fnim is only counting Eitzah. And how do you have so many cases of Eitzah? Because we're counting Chayiv and Pater, which itself is a question. How do you have 8? But Rashi is saying we cannot answer that it's only counting Eitzah. And we have that number of cases. Why can't we say it? Because he explains Achnasa first. Diktani, it says in the Mishnah, there are 2 and there are 4 for the bifnim, shtayim shen arba bachutz. And the first case we present after saying Yitzia is a Shabbos, but the word Yitzia is a case of Achnasa. Kate said, how do these cases play themselves out? Starts the Mishnah. Pasha Dani Yisrael de lifnim, if the Ani extended his hand inwards and placed something in the hand of the Balabais. That's a case of Achnasa. Tahainu Achnasa, this is Achnasa. Vikatani la bepirusha the Yitzias, and it teaches it in its interpretation, in its explanation of what are the Yitzias Shabbos. So Alma we see, Achnasa nami kari la Hitzah, that also Achnasa he calls with the name Hitzah. So that was one answer the Gemara gave for how the Mishnah could say Yitzias and also include Achnasa, because the word Yitzia includes in it the act of Achnasa. The Gemara explained 3 different ways that we see it. One is because the bottom line is he's carrying it out of the Rishus, so it is Hitzah. Then we also said we see it in the Mishnah later on in Perek Gadol, and we said even our Mishnah is precise in bringing out this point. Rava said this was a second answer in the Gemara for how could the Mishnah say Yitzias and include Achnasa. Says Rashi, the Kashelach Lishna the Yitzia. This is difficult to you. They have a question about the term being used Yitzia, even though it talks about and how could it be including Achnasa. So it says Rava bein hacha bein hasam, whether it's over there, here or over there. There have that question. So it's all part of the question. The Kashelach Lishna the Yitzia. This they have a question regarding the wording, the term Yitzia, bein hacha, whether over here, bein hasam, or over there in Masechta Shavuos. Rishuyas katani. It means to say not Yitzias. The word Yitzias means Rishuyas. And Taisus explains how Yitzias can mean Rishuyas. So Rashi is explaining it means Rishuyas. Rishuyas shtayim. The way we read the Mishnah is as follows: Rishuyas hashabas shtayim are 2, which are Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid and the Rishus HaRabim. Shehin arba b'fnim chulu, that are 4 on the inside. What does that mean? Kalaymar, meaning v'ayedeim yesh lecha arba yisurim b'fnim. The way we read the Mishnah is Yitzias HaShabbos, the Rishuyas of Shabbos shtayim are 2. There's a Rishus HaYachid and a Rishus HaRabim. Shehin arba, and as a result of those two Rishuyas, there are now 4 cases b'fnim for the person on the inside. So shtayim shen arba b'chutz means, and there are 2 rishuyos of Shabbos, the Rishus HaYachid and the Rishus HaRabim, and as a result, shein arba, there are 4 cases of a malacha b'chutz for the person on the outside. Umehen l'chiyuv and mehen l'ptur. Some of them are chayiv cases if the person did the whole malacha, and some of them are parter cases if he didn't do the entire malacha. Vayhi de shvuos, and that's in our Mishnah. In that Mishnah of shvuos, they're all chayiv cases, kedukimin, like we already established that the Mishnah Masechta Shavuos only counts chayiv cases, and the chayiv cases are Hitzah of the Ani, Hitzah of the Balabayas, Achnasa of the Ani, and Achnasa of the Balabayas.